ready, go ahead. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's late.
Yeah, it's quite a bit today.
Oh, here. Okay. I'm not going to look at it.
I think that
You make it full screen. Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first PTO meeting of 2018. I wanted to ask, as you're settling in and grabbing something to eat, does anybody need Spanish translation, or alguien necesita? I'm going to say it in Spanish. But anybody need translation in Spanish? Everybody's comfortable with English? We're good? Okay. Great. So I'm going to get started in the interest of time. So please continue helping yourself, and hopefully we have enough seats for everyone. This is so exciting that there's so many people here. That's great to see. So first of all, there is a sign-in sheet going around. Please make sure that you sign in. I think there are 2 different pages, and if we run out of space, please use the back. Hello. Great. Yeah. And we also have a webcast going on. I don't know if we've heard anybody has any problems yet with the webcast. Hopefully, if there's a problem, we'll know. We're good? Thank you, Henry. So, great, very exciting. So this is the DCI PTO. We have now, I'm going to be introducing the board members. Before we jump into the board member introductions, I want to do a very quick round robin. I know a lot of you know each other, but there are a lot of new parents here. So I want to do just very quick introductions. So everybody just please tell me your name and who your student is and what grade and language track they are in. I'll start. I'm Ana Zawasanski. I'm the PTO president. I have a 7th grader, Nina, who's in the Spanish track.
my name is Nashwa Beach. I have a daughter, Lillian, who is in the French track.
My name, is Adina Lau. I have 2 sons, 8th grade and 6th grade, Edem and Nabet, and they're on the Chinese track.
Okay, también, estamos también 8th grade, Chinese track.
Let's go to this table.
My name is Carolina. I have a son in 6th grade, and he is on the French track.
My name is Colleen Cancio, and I have a 6th grade daughter, and she is in
Jeremy Barretts and daughter in 6th grade in Spanish. Jeffrey Whiteson, I have a son in 8th grade Spanish track.
Andrew Rivera, treasurer, and 6th grade Spanish.
Hi, my name is Judy Mendez. My daughter is Madalena Ramirez. She's in grade 6, and she's in English.
Okay, we'll head over there, please. Yeah.
I'm usually probably a 10th grader. I think I've heard that number.
Yes. Great.
Hi, Sarah Mooney. 2 daughters, 6th and 8th, and they're both in the Chinese school. Hi, I'm Andre Shercook. I have a daughter who is in 6th grade in Chinese class.
And over there, please.
Hi, I'm Mary Green. I'm a 10th grader in the French.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Spanish track.
All right, okay. That table over there, please.
I'm Lee Lloyd, and I have a 7th grader in Chinese.
Louis Johnson, I have a 6th grader in the Chinese.
I'm Beth Elliott. I have a daughter, Gigi, in the Spanish track.
My name is Jim, and my son Rich is in the 7th grade French track. I'm Lance Marsh, I have 2 sons in the 8th grade Chinese track.
Over here, please.
I'm a Blackmare. I have an 9th grade daughter, Cecilia, in
I'm Tamala, and I have a sixth grader, and she's on Spanish class.
Jaime Pico, Sankofa, we have a son, Cody, Spanish.
Great.
I'm Henry Dawson. I'm the technology manager at DCI.
I am Julie Wood, and my son John is in sixth grade in Spanish.
Susan Hollis.
Colleen Zingwigo, my daughter Naya's 7th grade Spanish faculty.
Nice. Good.
Madison, my daughter's in the 8th grade Chinese. Ben Davis, son, named Ben Davis, in the Chinese track 7th grade.
Great. Wow, this whole side of the room just filled up. Mary, we'll go to you.
Mary Schaffner, 8th grade Chinese track, also a Chinese track. Son Haskell, 6th grade Spanish track. I'm 7th grade.
Heather Ryan, 5th grader in front of
Steve Lippman, my son's Pierre, he is an 8th grader Chinese.
Over here, please.
Even at Roy High, I have a 10th grader, my year, sitting right beside me, who's on the Spanish track.
Sam Vincent, daughter, 8th grade English track. First.
Claudia Lindo, daughter, 9th grade, Spanish track.
Okay. Go ahead, please. Yes, yeah.
Ethel Roy, son Ethan, behind me, 6th grade Spanish track.
Last table.
Brian and Jelena Turner, daughter is Eden, 7th grade Chinese track.
My name's Janet, I have an 8th grader Spanish track.
Carmen Nunez, I have a 7th grader, Spanish track.
And Dean, you haven't introduced yourself yet?
Hello everyone, I'm Dean, rising 6th grade Chinese parent. I'm the ID coordinator, and I'll be running an overview session upstairs for those of you who want to know a little bit more about the ID, its structure, assessment.
I think we're going to be here.
Things going to be upstairs.
Really?
We can't have to use these because
Oh.
we couldn't project.
Oh, okay, so we'll move things around then. Okay, all right, well so we'll just, let me just quickly tell you what we're going to accomplish today, and we'll have to move some things around. Now I understand. Okay, so first we're going to introduce the board to you. At the last meeting, we voted in a new board and have one more board member to officially vote in. She has raised her hand and is officially nominated, so we'll do that. At the last meeting, we did a kind of a survey with cards where we asked everybody who was here to, on different colored cards, express what they really like about DCI, what are some of their suggestions for different activities, and what are some of the concerns that they would like for the school and the PTO to address. So I'll share with you some top-line findings from that survey, and some of those findings are informing our priorities for the rest of this year. And then we'll skip Dean Harris till later. Mayor Schaffner is going to provide a little bit of an update for us on what's going on with the building and other things. Lori Nelson-Choice was not able to be here today, so we have a very quick update about the Booster Club that she shared with me to share with you and some handouts. And then our treasurer will provide a quick update on how we're doing financially, and Nashwa is going to tell you about a new fun activity, fundraising activity that we are going to put on this year. And then at the end, I guess whoever is still interested in staying for the IB grading, everything you ever wanted to know about IB grading, but we're free to ask in 15 minutes or less, this is going to be it. So great. So again, I'm Anna Zawaslansky. I'm the PTO president. Let me just quickly introduce the board, and almost all of them are sitting right here. So Sandra Rivera is, you met her. There she is. You're fine. You don't have to do anything yet. No, you're fine. You're just I'm introducing you.
Okay.
So Sandra is our treasurer. Appreciate how eager you are. So Sandra is our treasurer. So and then Shelley Finlayson is just raise your hand to be the secretary or historian, as we're calling, because the job of the secretary is to take notes at these meetings and create, helpful reports for everybody so they know what happened at the meetings. And she has officially raised her hand to be the secretary. So we're going to officially vote her in. She's not here today. She's here, but she'll be at future meetings. So we're going to officially vote her in. So those in favor, there's nobody else who has raised their hand to be secretary. I don't know if it's not competitive. So those in favor of Shelley being our historian secretary, please raise your hand. Okay. Anybody opposed to Shelley being secretary? If you're opposed, you have to take notes today. Okay. So Shelley is officially our secretary. Terrific. Adina Lab is our at-large member. We have 4 at-large members. Melina Menace, right there, is our other at-large. Nashua Beach is our other at-large, and Penny Gerber is our at-large member who was previously president. So I have big shoes to fill. Okay, so that's the board, and we're all available if you have any questions. Since I've announced that I'm president, I've had a lot of people calling me and with their questions or concerns about how they can be involved and things that matter to them. So I welcome you all to do that as well. So what I wanted to share briefly is, so last week we did this activity where we asked people to provide feedback, kind of help shape what we should be focusing on. I want to give you the top line of that. So as far as positives go, we had a lot of really great feedback, and generally the feedback was generally positive. But the things that folks felt were really, really positive, we had a lot of responses on this, was communications. They think the school does you think the school does a really good job of communications. The responses are often very prompt, really good communication with teachers and administration. People commented on the DCI dispatch being a very helpful tool. So a lot of really positive comments about communications. Now, not everybody here might agree with that, but that was the feedback we got with the card sort. People really appreciate the focus on diversity in the school and social activism. A lot of parents really appreciate that their kids can learn more about their heritage and discover others, and so a lot of really positive feedback on that. Activities for students, but especially lunch activities. People really like all the different options that are available for kids at lunch, including tutoring. And just generally activities, right? So Voyager, Taste of DCI, the Spanish Fiesta, which had just happened before the PTO meeting. So folks really like the activities. They want a lot more activities, but those were raised as being very, very positive. Opportunities, what else can we be doing? So a lot of people raised the point of more engagement with the community, more engagement with each other. For those who are the 6th graders, 7th graders, we all remember how, in elementary schools, we had a lot of interaction with other parents. Once you go into middle school, that kind of, they're on their own. You don't even, go inside the building, right? So more opportunities for parents to do things together. And also, opportunities to meet teachers, because a lot of times we don't get to meet teachers. We only meet the ATL teacher. Sometimes we might have an opportunity to meet other teachers, but we're not just connected to the teachers, so more opportunities to meet teachers. Community engagement, like ideas like a community day, like a block party, a yard sale, maybe service activities, so more engagement activities were brought up. And then an idea called, that we're going to introduce in a little bit, family-hosted parties, where DCI families come together and host parties. And Nasha's going to tell you more about that idea in a little bit. Concerns, and then we want people to feel free to express how they're feeling. There was a few comments about concerns about not being strict enough about language in schools. And we, middle schoolers, I have a high schooler and middle schooler. It's a battle, but there was a concern raised about that there's just, not enough oversight of this cursing that's going on. More classroom support for new teachers. So there are, as the school grows, there are a lot of new teachers, and folks raise the need for more support for new teachers. Tutoring for a lot of parents, I think this was the most common answer on the survey. A lot of parents wanted more support to understand Google Classroom, which, happened, here we go, tonight is the night. Understanding IB grades, understanding how, IB impacts, college applications. So the whole IB thing, and, I'm a 7th grade parent, and I still struggle with it a little bit. So it's okay to feel that way, and a lot of parents feel that way, and we're going to help a little bit today with Dean's presentation and your opportunity to ask questions. Better food. There were some comments about the food. I'm sorry, I think the direct quote was edible food. Edible food is what they want. Some concern about staff turnover, which is kind of related to support for new teachers, and student drop-off, traffic, safety. I know that's a challenge, and I'm supposed to doing what you can, but that was raised. So those were the main themes. And we as a PTO, what we really want to do is, kind of follow through on some of those. So we're putting on today this opportunity to meet to hear from Dean on grades and IB curricula, and also some ideas for more community engagement. So this is just sort of the beginning of our exploring what we can do more of. And I see a lot of new faces here today that weren't here at the last meeting. We want to hear from you of ideas. So we're still kind of, we're a new, kind of mostly a new board, and have a lot of enthusiasm for doing new things. So if you have some great ideas, please share those with us for what we can do as a PTO. We have a lot of parents here who are parents of 6th graders and 7th graders, so we're going to be with the school for a very long time, and we want to make it an even better experience for everybody. So those are the results of our survey. Any questions on that? Somebody has some questions.
I have one question.
Yes.
Do you have this documented?
I have just. We have right here. Yeah, I think we're not going to quite share all of it. We're not going to share it, but we will provide a summary of it in a more formal fashion. Yeah. We have raw data, but we don't want to quite, share that with everybody. Yeah. But happy to share that in a more kind of overview, synthesis way. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Comments? Any surprises? No? Okay. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Mary.
And we're going to actually do it here.
Fantastic. Okay. That's fine. Great, yeah. Great. So thanks, Mary.
Well, or if you're we have the
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Or good morning. Good evening. It's been a long week. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Mary Schaffer, Executive Director, Founder, and Parent. Thank you so much all for coming to Tech Night tonight. Many of you were at Tech Night. Hopefully you got to know a little bit about all the technology fun stuff, but also how we use technology here at DCI.
Great job.
Oh, great. I will pass that on to Nicole, and Brian is here, so he can also bring it back, and Shane as well. Any burning questions after Tech Night that I can answer? Great. Awesome. Great. Okay. So I wanted to give you guys a few updates. One is building. They're running late, so I'm sorry. It's not going to be ready. Their new due date is March 19th. I'm pretty sure that's firm, but they didn't really get enough done over the break, and then the cold snap hurt them, and so they're running late. Sorry about that. It's coming about a month late. And after that, we will be doing a big grand opening, so stay tuned. I'm not sure how we'll do it, but we're starting to plan it right now, and of course we'll want the PTO to be very involved, and I know the boosters, we're talking to them as well, so everyone can see it. It's looking great. We've had a lot of, taken a lot of kids over there, and it's been there. Everyone's really excited. ACE is going really well today. Our basketball, I understand the boys won, but I don't hear, were the girls playing too?
I think it was canceled. I think the other team didn't have a
team.
Yeah.
But the boys won 25-13, I believe. So we had a great fall sports season, and so now we're jumping into the winter, and we're really excited about both basketball and swimming. And also we haven't started up the theater the plays yet, but the high school will be doing Midsummer Night's Dream, and they'll be practicing on Fridays, and so those tryouts will be happening soon. And then in the The spring session of ACE, we'll be doing the middle school play. So that's kind of what's coming up. Yep. I wanted to answer the food question, but I will move on. Upcoming, we have the career program and diploma program night. So those are the IB programs for your 11th and 12th grade. It's very much especially geared towards our 9th and 10th graders. However, it's pretty appropriate too for 8th grade families to come so they can really understand what that is about. So, and the career program is really sort of the gold standard IB, get you ready for college. All the schools around the world accept that as just really the best high school education you can have to be ready for college. And so we're going to tell you how we're going to implement that. And then the the career program is also IB classes, but you come out with a career certificate instead of the extended essay. And it's really, you're also ready for college, but you also have a career certificate. So I would highly recommend coming next week if that's something that's really, especially when you're in the upper grades. Also coming up is the Black History Month celebration. You're going to talk about that because we want volunteer support for that. And then right after that is Chinese New Year, and then comes Francophone Month. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to want your help with. Yes, and we've been working on the leadership search for DCI, and here's Andrea Lockenmeyer. She's our board chair. You want to speak with me about it?
Would you like to make there's no announcements?
No announcements to be made at all.
No announcements to be made, but the search is going really well. We had a lot of parent input at the beginning of the process, which is what we got.
Yeah, you're good. Yes, it's a delay.
A lot of parent input at the beginning of the process, which was really helpful for all of us as we thought about who we were looking for. And we've gotten just a ton of applicants from all over the country, even some international applicants, and it's exciting. People are really excited about DCI. We haven't necessarily identified a perfect candidate. So we're looking at different skill sets. A lot of people bring different aspects of the role to the table better than others.
But we have a great search committee. A lot of people are interested in DCI, so we're expecting to have some good results. Thank you. And Andrea is our board chair, also a parent. Okay, so from a academic perspective, grades are coming soon, and also math testing just happened. So that's about my update. Anything anyone else wants to know about?
My understanding was that the IB people were coming for something, a visit, and we were going to have the gym ready for them. Is that going to work out? Or that, not just the gym, but like the wing?
It's not going to be ready for them.
It's not going to be ready. You can just say that.
You're hearing it exactly the same time as me, because I haven't really announced it to anyone, so.
Okay.
There's also a strange delay going on, so I've actually only just entered the screen, which is quite weird to see that. The latest news that we've had from the IB, we were in touch with them this morning. The latest news is that they're going to try and organise a joint diploma program and careers program visit, which they're hoping will be at the beginning of March. So actually the gym may well be ready. However, our concern about the gym was for the Middle States visit, which just happened, and they were satisfied with the progress that we were making. Sorry?
Okay.
They were very happy with the progress we were making. So they were the ones that we were most concerned about. The IB is only going to look at our program and our curriculum. It's not going to look at facilities as much as Middle States. Middle States looks at everything, including health and safety, including building, including business and finances and things like that. So hope that clarifies. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Wonderful, thanks.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great. And we need to bring this, I guess, over. No? Okay. Yes, yeah. Yes. Yes, webcast people, we are moving you. So you can see.
So everyone turn this way, and this is Dean. And I think the funny thing about this, you're going to have to speak loudly, is these are actually to protect us from too much noise.
It's delayed, it's really funky, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's gonna look right.
Yes, you look great.
And it won't look right.
I can't put it closer.
I'd like to apologise first of all, because when I was asked originally to sort of come and talk to people at a PTO meeting, my experience at PTO meetings in the past has been that about 7 people turn up. So I was basically thinking, let's come along, we'll have a cup of tea, chat about whatever you want to chat about, and then I'll answer your questions, etc. I wasn't quite prepared for 150 people. So I apologise. What I've done with this overview is I've brought together some materials that I use with parents, materials that I use with students. I'm not going to go through it all tonight because I really am promising to try and keep to 15 minutes and just like really sort of target the things you've asked for. But the QR code is actually real. So if you want to have a look at the whole presentation, if you take a photo using a QR scanner of it, you'll get the whole thing. So you'll get everything that I included in it, which is kind of everything more about the ID ever at DCI. I'll leave that there for a moment. It's also on the last slide, so I'll put it back up. All right. Oh, there we go. So, the first thing that people usually ask about, particularly when joining an IB school, is what is the IB? Well, the IB is actually a continuum of curriculum frameworks for schools all the way from pre-K3 through to 12th grade. And there is no stipulation you have to do all of the continuum. You can join at any part, you can leave at any part. It's just that this is what the people who've written the curriculum and put the program together feel are our best practices around the world in education today. That's all IB is. It's bringing together the best, what it used to be the best practices around the world, it's together into one place, and then helping to support schools in how they implement that, and support teachers in how they teach it, administrators in how they administer it, etc. There are 4 parts to the program, and I'll go through those with you. The early years part of it is called the Primary Years Program, and that was developed in 1997. The middle years program is, and I'll go a little bit more into the grades and stuff, the middle years program follows on from grades 6 through 10, and that was developed in 1994. So it was developed a little bit before the primary years program. The diploma program is kind of the grandparent. That's been around since 1968. It's about to celebrate its 50th anniversary. And then the newest program is called the Careers Program. And both the diploma and the Careers Program are programs for 11th and 12th grade students, what we would call in the UK sixth form college or tertiary education. The interesting thing is that apart from the Careers Program, which was developed from the diploma program, the PYP and the MYP actually developed in isolation in different places. But what was interesting was they were both developed by teachers, by an international group of teachers to support and make consistent the experience of students around the world. But because they were literally run by teachers, there came a point when it was too big for teachers who were also working teachers to manage them. At the same time, the IB was looking at these programs, and some schools were putting in what they called a pre-IB. And what they were doing was taking elements of what would become the MYP and using it to prepare kids for the diploma program. So what eventually happened is that it actually just became a formalized relationship. The MYP became the middle years program at the IB. And then a couple of years later, the International Schools Curriculum Project, which is again another group of teachers in another area of the world, the IB sort of started taking over that for the same reason. It just became too big for somebody who wasn't able to run it full time to manage. They both grew enormously in popularity. But the thing they all had in common was this inquiry-based, concept-driven, best practice way of looking at education. And so that's how they all fit together. Now they've been revised over time. There's a 5-year review cycle for each program. And all of the reviews are to bring the programs in line with each other. There have been, over time, the MYP had some elements that were very different from the other programs that they really want to hold on to, the PYP similarly. So a lot of the work is being making it sort of consistent. But at this point in time, there's so much consistency and so many through lines through the entire program that they can really honestly say it's a continuum. You're going to be learning about approaches to learning in the primary years program. You're going to be using those approaches to learning in the diploma program and in the careers program. So even though you don't have to do the whole thing, clearly if you have a bigger run-up, you're going to be better prepared for the end product. So this is the IB's mission statement. And I've underlined what I think are the most important words, because they are the words that bring all of the programs together. The IB aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. To this end, the organisation works with schools, governments, and international organisations to develop challenging programs of international education and rigorous assessment. These programs encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate, lifelong learners who understand, this is the bit I love, that other people with their differences can also be right. This whole idea of empathy and understanding is something that goes all the way from pre-K3 through to grade 12. And you'll probably notice that the school's mission statement echoes a lot of that. It's actually not that we copied that in the school's mission statement. It's just that when you boil down the mission statements of all five of our feeder schools, it's kind of that. At the center of all of the programs is this thing called the learner profile. And you'll probably hear a lot about it. If you've come from a PYP school, or if your students are already here, you're probably hearing about this all the time. I hear it at home. I hear Thomas say to Ella, that wasn't my principal when she's cheating in Monopoly. It's a set of language that we want them to really internalize as they go through the program. As IB learners, we want our students to be inquirers. We want them to be knowledgeable. That's important. We want them to be thinkers, though. We want them to think critically about the knowledge that they're accessing. We want them to be able to communicate effectively, be principled, and do the right thing, and stand up for the right things, be upstanding. We want them to be open-minded. We want them to be caring. We want them to be risk-takers, most of the time. We want them to be balanced. We want to make sure they're looking after their physical and mental well-being and health as they are sort of growing as learners. But we want them to be reflective. We want them to know that unless you stop and reflect on something, you seldom learn from it. Reflection is such a central part of actually learning about anything. And then there are these approaches to learning. And one of the things that elevates the program for me above many other programs is the idea that it teaches children how to learn. And it uses, again, a consistent set of language in all 4 programs so that students become familiar. If a teacher says to them that we need to work on collaboration skills, whether that student is in pre-K4, grade 6, grade 7, or grade 11, they'll have an understanding of what collaboration means. We'll literally and explicitly teach it in the classroom. We'll teach kids how to collaborate. I'm going to skip this one. So again, here's a very brief breakdown of the 4 programs and some of the through lines. So again, the PYP was launched in 1997, and it works with, it's intended for pre-K through 6. In the PYP, most subjects are taught by one teacher. That's something that's very intentional in the PYP because they want students to start making connections between what's happening in math actually has an effect on what's happening in science. So it's got that interdisciplinarity and that connectedness there. And again, at the center of it are the learner profile and the approaches to learning, but in the PYP, students are taught the attitudes that help you to access the learner profile and show it. So just a little bit more of a focus on that. Many people would say along the continuum that in the PYP, the emphasis is actually more on that learning about learning element than it is about content. So we're setting the stage. However, that also happens in the MYP. So then the MYP, as I said, launched in 1994 as for grades 6 through 10, which may seem a strange age range, considering how in the US it's usually 6 through 8 and 9 through 12. But actually that's fairly common in Europe, and I think that's the only real reason it's there. I don't think there's any other reason apart from that's what schools that were teaching it were used to. As I say, in the UK, grades 11 and 12 are called sixth form college, which grade 11 and 12 kids, as you can probably imagine, really love because they can say they're college students. This is where, in an IB continuum, students start to come in contact with single subject teachers. So they're going to be going to a math class, they're going to be going to a science class, they're going to be going to an individuals and societies class, which is IB for humanities. They're going to be going to a language arts class and a languages class. So they're actually going to be seeing at least 8 different teachers a week. At DCI, we also have ATL teachers, because we understand that it's important for kids to have one teacher who they see every day, who can become a touchstone. So we try to soften the transition from PYP or other elementary programs where they see the same teacher every day to the MYP where you can just be thrown in at your head. We want to have one teacher with whom they have a strong relationship who can stay with them. In the MYP, there's a balance of learning about learning and learning about content. So particularly in grades 6, 7, and 8, there's still a real push on learning how to learn effectively. In the MYP, there's still very, very sort of specific content that we're teaching. But we're looking very much at the ATL skills. Around grade 9 and 10, the content starts to become just that little bit more weighted. But the idea is that if the kids have been here for at least grades 6, 7, and 8, they've got those learning to learn skills under their belt anyway. So there are 8 subjects in the MYP. And we have to teach each of these at least for 50 hours a year to every student. And then the ideal is that we do them concurrently. And that's the reason for our A-Day, B-Day schedule. We do, every day, we do language arts, math, and language and literature. And then the other subjects are dispersed across the year and across A-Days and B-Days. So every other day they would do individuals and societies. This is the first point in the IB continuum where students and families will come in contact with formal assessments, IB set assessments. So the IB rubrics and also external assessments when the kids get to the end of the personal project. When they get to the end of the personal project, there's dynamic sampling. Their work may be sent to Geneva to be marked. So we have to get the kids ready for the fact that there's this external moderation of what they're doing is going to be happening. And we try hard to do that. And one of the reasons that this, at the end, is a bit more weighted towards assessment is because it's kind of hard in the MYP to suddenly go from having lots of different ways that kids are assessed to that's a 5, and then knowing what that means. So that's something we'll talk about at the end. So the diploma program, okay, one of the first ones that was out there, originally came from a book that was called How Do We Teach for Peace? And a group of educators were inspired by creating a curriculum that actually helped to literally create a better world and more caring students. It's for grades 11 and 12. It's often described as pre-university. So the purpose of a diploma is very academic. It is college prep. There is more focus on content. There are 6 subject groups, and the 6 subject groups bring in a little bit of flexibility because you have studies in language and literature, which is group 1. You have language acquisition, which is group 2. Individuals and societies, which is group 3. Sciences, which is group 4. Math, which is group 5, and then the arts, which is group 6. But there's flexibility. You can choose not to do an art at diploma and to do another subject. You can choose to substitute things in. There's actually possibly a greater deal of flexibility with DP than there is with the MIP. But we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. And we have at the core these 3 capstones. One of them is called the Theory of Knowledge. So Theory of Knowledge is a class that everybody who does the diploma will take. And it's part philosophy and it's part meta-learning, meta-cognitive. It's really how do we know what we know in each subject. I love it, it's one of my favorites. We also have the extended essay. The students will have to write an extended essay during their time. It's a development from the personal project. So now it's around the corner. The extended essay is a long, academically written piece about something that's of personal interest. And then there's creativity, action, and service. We're going to be sticking to DC's hourly, I forget how many hours it is. Anyway, whatever DC says, we do 50 hours more. That's me. And then, yeah.
I just got heard that we went to get a little sneak peek of the gym.
Oh, cool.
So, very exciting. So, if you would mind kind of speeding up a little into the green part.
I will do, yes.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So this is the careers program. I'm moving on. There we are. So, that's right. Yes, so college and career prep. The one point I wanted to make about this before we moved on is that the thing about the CP that most people get wrong, the careers based program, they think it's like a plan B if you don't get to the diploma. It's actually not. It's developed quite intentionally to be different. It is college and career prep. And I put some statistics. If my computer will work. Oh, actually, it's not going to. I just remember I left it off, so I'm doing it on Thursday. Actually, out of whatever I think they're called, the that's the word I needed. Very competitive universities. There's a list of what are called, according to Barron's Selectivity Index, very competitive universities, such as UVA, George Mason, Penn State, a few others come to mind. There are, but currently they have CP students in them, they're graduating them, they're very keen to take them in, they're actually really keen on CP students because they're very well rounded and they come with experience, which is fantastic. So, yeah.
How is it decided who goes CP, who goes CP? How does that happen?
Actually, by you, with the student, with the ATL teacher, and with the other teachers. So those parents who are grade 10 parents, these are conversations we'll be having this year. But actually, to be honest, a lot of our grade 10 kids already started talking about this. So, yes?
But I noticed that there is no ATL for conducting control for graders.
There isn't. That was spotted.
So is it only in you and the kids, or they're no longer kids at that?
No, yeah.
So you and your son or your child, you choose?
Actually, what will happen is they still have ATL teachers at grade 10. So that will be the teacher who's part of the conversation.
Why not in the
Well, actually, we do. The intention behind ATL, because the ATL classes that we have here are not actually an IB design class. We made them up because what we wanted to do was actually dovetail into the theory of knowledge class and the reflective practice class that happens in the CP. So theory of knowledge is in like that. Reflective practice is in the careers program. And our intention always was that ATL would be kind of like a TOK light. So we teach kids about learning processes and sort of like, we'd actually sort of segue into those two programs. So they will still have somebody who can be a touchstone. Yeah?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you select one versus the other, and let's just say in 11th grade you decided to go CP, and then maybe a semester or a quarter into it, it's like, no, I think I want to go on this track. How easy is it to transfer from one versus the other, or is it once you're in one, that's you're done?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. The thing is here, kids are going to be doing, even every student is 90 students. And so,
They're taking the same classes until they get to the extended essay, really, right?
yeah, they're taking the same classes. In actual fact, the careers program, you have to do at least 2 diploma classes in order to sort of get the careers program. Yeah. At this point in time, there are 2 technology pathways. And that's just, we have a smaller grade 10 cohort, we're hoping to expand this over time. But at this point in time, it really looks to be computer sciences. We have a more computer science-based pathway, and we also have more of a network management, sort of electrical engineering type pathway as well. So within that, there will be 2 pathways that students can take. We hope to add more over time. Right. Yeah. All of this is available. I will. Actually, I'll put the QR code back up at the end. What I wanted to do is this, because I've used this with the kids to explain in the MYP the 1 to 8 grade. Because the first question you always hear in grade 6 is, why isn't my student getting A's? Why aren't they coming home with all A's? They should be getting all A's. They're working really hard. Why aren't they getting A's? Well, this is an analogy that we've used with the kids, and it really kind of helped them to understand. So this is what we've called force studies. It's about Star Wars. So we're going to use Star Wars to explain it. So learning takes place along continuum. That's an IB thing. There's absolute novice status, but then at the other end, at the end of the continuum, there's absolute expert. So thinking of The Empire Strikes Back, this is the rock that Luke lifted on the planet Dagobah. The rock had no force skills. Luke had to do everything. So there's nothing there. Hasn't been, there's no force skills, no attempt. At the other end of the scale, there's Yoda. And Yoda's probably about as far as you can go. And what we say about the tagline is, when we get kids to understand where 5 is okay, this is what we're using to say. Not everyone has the force skills of Yoda, but that's okay, because being Luke is good enough to save the galaxy. So we have an Ewok. An Ewok may have force skills we don't know. They're not exhibiting them. We can't speak Ewok, so we don't know. They're not able to communicate that. So there may be something that we just don't know. Then there's young Anakin. Young Anakin has inherent skills and powers, but it's inconsistent. He can't control them. He doesn't know what they are. So there's probably a 2-ish. Then there is snarky teenage Anakin. So snarky teenage Anakin has the skills, but they're very, very inconsistently applied. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. Yeah. But when we start getting towards a 4, we've got sophisticated long-haired Anakin. And sophisticated long-haired Anakin at this point, his skills are solid. His attitude is terrible, but his skills are solid. Again, not as consistently applied as we would want to. However, in Luke, by the time you get to Return of the Jedi, or even the last film, he's got everything he needs. The skills are there, the composure's there, the empathy's there, the forgiveness is there. Luke's really good at the Force. But he's 5. But he's really good. Not as good as young Obi-Wan, though. Young Obi-Wan will always have, he's got the maturity, the consistency of application, the consistency in mood and temper. And then again, even he is not quite as good as old Obi-Wan. So there's this continuum of expertise. And that's the point we try to get across to the kids with this diagram, is that this is designed so that if we have any truly, truly gifted, able students, we don't want to curtail them by an A being so much less than what they can actually achieve. So the end of that spectrum, the 8, is actually genuine, possibly above the content knowledge of the teacher, at that point expertise. Definitely beyond the curriculum. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the 1 to 8. It's a continuum which is designed so that you've got absolute novice through to absolute expert, and then these are still very, very good. In fact, they're all you need. That makes sense.
Well, I guess, any questions? Yeah, questions about grading. Go ahead.
Yes.
For colleges, in terms of accepting grades,
Yes. We do have there is a kind of conversion scale, but we are reticent to use it. We do transcripts, and actually an awful lot of universities around the world actually will accept ID grades. They understand them anyway. But if there's a college that doesn't, it's like 2,000 universities around the world now that accept the ID and understand the grading. And actually, I think they're the ones that actually give advancement. If you go to them with an ID certificate, or you go to them with ID courses, you get advancement. That's 2,000, it's probably more. So a lot of universities actually know ID grading.
Meaning you get to skip grade.
Yeah, get skip grade, get credits, etc. But for those that don't, we do have a rough conversion, but we have to. There is a caveat. It is rough because this is the ID grading is what's called competency-based grading, and it's very subtly different from the ABCDF way of doing things. So we have a long letter that we include and then say this is roughly the equivalent of students. That makes sense. And we'll share more about that, I think, on Thursday.
Is that right?
Yeah, please.
So, GW, we're ranked 50. We're looking for students who have 5s and 6s consistently. You know, if you got a 4 in high school, you got 1, that's probably okay. So just for some reference, a 5 and 6 is considered really good, very invisible. And these kids are generally getting an entire year of college credit through this. They're starting a summer course. They still have to take freshman English though, so don't complain.
I don't think they will. Brilliant, thank you.
So I guess as a parent, like, if I see, a 4 on a report card, I say, 4 is really, they say 4 is very good.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that as a parent? Like, okay, 4 is, but I would be better, as you said, right?
Well,
so like, how do you handle that as a parent? Right?
there are other complicating factors, but it depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
We always send a letter to accompany reports just to make sure that people are clear about this.
Yeah.
Like, if a student's never covered any content before, and that's why it's competency-based,
Yeah.
if they get a 3 and they haven't ever done it before, that's all right, because they're on the way.
Yeah.
If they, at the beginning of the year, we're really happy with a 3, we're not really happy with a 3, we're happy with a 3, we're really happy with a 4, because it's the beginning of the year. And so for many students, it'll be new content, new teacher, new classroom, etc., etc. By the end of the year, we're looking to be moving towards 5, if that makes sense.
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah.
So, this is maybe a weird one, but it's about like the variation versus stable. So like, if a student is getting, a grade for a quarter in a class that's, let's say, a 4 or 5, but it's an average of 3s and 6s as opposed to all 4s.
It's not, it gets really complicated. It's not an average. And that's something that I'm writing a letter about next week for the dispatch. So it's worth looking at. It's actually boundary delineated. So it's...
I know, what's that?
I wasn't. But no, so I am literally writing a letter about that next week, because the IB final grade is not an average, and that's been something that's tripped a lot of people up, including teachers before. It's actually boundary delineated. It's like the 1 to 5 gets this. Across all subjects, across all grades, they get a 1 to 5, a 1 to 4 is this, a 2 to 5 is that, and so, 5 to 10 is that. But I'll send that home. It's on here, but it would just,
Any more questions for Dean? Or let's go.
So the college credit based on course scores or exam scores?
both. You can actually get college credit for courses. You get considerably more for the diploma certificate, or the career certificate. So you'll get some credits for any courses that you do in the diploma or CP, but if you get the certificate at the end of it, you get considerably more benefits.
Okay, anything else for Dean?
I have a ton of cards here on the table. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me anytime, and I'll put this back to the beginning so if anyone wants to take a QR code and get the whole thing, all there for you. So thank you very much for listening.
Okay, but don't leave. We have a few more things, and we are. Mary's going to take us on a little tour of the gym. So, we'll try to move things really quickly so we get you out of here as in like in 15 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So really quickly, I'm going to ask Sandra Rivera to give us a really quick update on where we are with the PTO from a treasurer's perspective.
Hi, I'm Sandra Rivera, treasurer. I wanted to report out that the PTO account currently has $3,738.18. This is before any fundraisers for the year. We have high hopes of raising lots of money. That concludes my report.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So now, in order to add some more money to our fund, I'm going to turn over to Nashua to give us an update on a new fundraising activity that's going to be really fun.
Yes, so we have an idea of how to raise some funds and get to know one another. No, I really don't want to.
Yes, you can.
So it's March Mingle Madness, and what we're asking is for parents to host other parents at their home and sell tickets for that. So you would have a small group of parents come to your home, you would provide a meal, you could watch the game, you could do whatever you wanted, and we could raise funds for the school at the same time. We will help with the ticket sales, we will help give you menu ideas or anything like that. Why are you looking at me? You are helping with the tickets, right? Okay, good. And we're talking about helping offset also some of the costs that you would incur to this. And so we're just asking for volunteers to do it some weekend in March, or not some weekend, but at night over a weekend, the first 4 weekends in March. I passed out my name and number. Please contact me if you're interested, and we'll go from there, and we'll raise a lot of money. Yeah, what?
How do people get the opportunity to attend these events? How will they?
That's a great question, and it's an evolving answer. So I would say that I would love for people to contact their friends or parents they know from, when the kids were in elementary school or
people you don't know. So what we'll do is
sorry.
once we have the dinners identified for the 4 weeks or 3 weeks in March, we'll then do a little sign up, like an online sign up. So Italian night at Andrea's house, and basketball watching at Jana's house, and then so you sign up for which event works for your schedule and which one sounds really fun, and so it's a good experience. So there'll be an opportunity for everybody school-wide to sign up. But we're asking parents who are particularly involved and interested in school who are here tonight to think about hosting an event, and let Nashua know if you are interested in hosting.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of throw out
Yeah.
when we discuss this, you could get together with a friend. If, like, say somebody has a big house, maybe 2 parents want to get together and host a night. So you could let us know how many people you can have attend. What we're thinking of is just having a flat $25 ticket. So the more people you can have come, the more we can raise, and we can also have the option of collecting additional donations at your party if you like. But people have done this in the past for micro fundraising for Voyager campaign, and it's been very successful. So we'd like to try to replicate it and give opportunities for more people to meet each other.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, what are the funds for that we're collecting from this? And I have a suggestion.
Okay.
For a sign, I have already mentioned it to Penny. About a sign, maybe, right now in the back, because that's where most people come to drop off their kids or pick them up. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, that's good then. Great.
Yeah. So as far as so the PTO hosts a lot of activities. For example, like the Staff Appreciation Day, where we feed them and right.
Well, staff appreciation. I'll just maybe say a quick note about that. Just looking over what we did last year, we did breakfast all week, Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday we did a staff luncheon. And just most of the staff luncheon, that cost about $700, $800. And then, other things in between it. The PTO usually provides the decorations, the plates, etc. for the week-long brunch, and then we ask parents to donate food. So, now every year we're growing, so I think we probably need to budget close to $2,000 for Staff Appreciation Week this year. So, as of right now, that pretty much eat up our budget.
And every meeting that we have, we spend close to $100 on refreshments. Not quite. The last few meetings have been smaller, so I've been trying to keep it small. But easily we could spend $100 each meeting just on refreshments. And then when we do the Hispanic Heritage Festival,
Taste of DCI.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is going to go towards, appreciation and kind of community engagement activities. And the more we raise, the more fun things we can do and supportive things at school and the teachers. Any other questions? So please, if you love hosting, if you like having people at your house and feeding people and making them happy, this is an opportunity for you. Okay, really quickly, unfortunately, Lori Nelson-Choice was not able to come here today. She's traveling for work, but she gave me an update on what's going on with the Booster Club. So she wanted to let everybody know that there is a fundraiser for Booster Club at Chipotle in Silver Spring on January 30th. And there was recently for those who are part of Booster Club, you just got a newsletter that provided you with an update of where updates are. Are you in Booster Club?
I was. I don't
Yeah. Yes. But the e-newsletter was sent to everyone this afternoon with sports update and membership information and the fundraiser. And we have flyers about the fundraiser on that table, I believe. There's a big Chipotle burrito on the front, so you know that that's it. So hopefully you can come join and enjoy some Chipotle on January 30th. And another update, Fatumata, who is our teacher liaison, who's got really the coolest name, Fatumata Magasa. She was unable to come here as well. For those who are new to the PTO, we have a teacher liaison who is a member of the PTO. But she wanted to let everybody know that on February 15th from 5:30 to 7, we're going to be hosting DCI's first annual Black History Month celebration entitled A Timeless Journey. There'll be performances and then light refreshments to honor traditions through food. In addition to joining us, we need parent support to make this event be very special. So if you're interested, there's a link, but I don't have that for you to give you, but we'll send this around afterwards, and I'm sure she'll be communicating about it too. So mark your calendar for February 15th, and if you want to help make it be a success, let Fatumata or you can let me know and I can connect you with her. So that sounds like a really great opportunity. And on the bottom of the agenda, there's some other activities that you can keep in mind for future things. We don't have an update today on the Voyager. Voyager Fund. Mario's not able to come here, but I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot about the Voyager Fund in the next coming months, because that's gearing up for end of April, beginning of May. And I think that concludes our agenda. Any questions before we go see the new gym? Yes. The next PTO meeting is on so we are alternating between Wednesdays and Thursdays, because some people have standing activities on one of those days, hopefully not both days. So our next meeting is going to be on Wednesday, March 17th. So, yeah. Yeah, anything else? Great. Yes. Yeah, so that's not it. That would not be a good day for PTO meeting. We'll update that. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right. Anything else?
Let's do a raffle.
Oh, we have a raffle. Go ahead. Well, you have.
I need a young volunteer. So this is for a limited edition. I heard those words earlier, made me fly. Limited edition DCI tote, and it's pretty cool.
There's only 2 of them.
Yes, and I just found one. That one. Can you do the honors? Shake it. You look at it. All of our names are in it. Well, everybody did sign in, right? Okay. Let's get one. Thank you. Hold the bag. I will read the name, and she will add it on. And we have.
Oh, this is me.
Allie Thomas.
Woohoo!
Allie. Allie Thomas. Thank you.
All right. Oh, it's okay. 14th, March 14th is when the next PTO meeting is. Thank you.
March 14th, is that?
Yes, Wednesday, March 14th. Same, probably. We might make it a little earlier. I guess I have a question for you also. We started this at 6:30 because the TechNet was happening before that. Does anybody have a strong opinion about start times? I know like everybody's got to go to work and come back and or look to work, until 5, 6 o'clock. Is 6:30 a better time than 6? Any thoughts, preferences about that?
Crazy question. Second tech net, since some people may have missed some.
Oh, second tech night?
Well, so many nights we have to do.
Thanks for oh, consider it.
So we won't provide everything, we do it every year around this time, so everything's online, and the school is always available to answer questions, so welcome.
Yes.
I think 6 o'clock is a lot of people, they have to go through social like 6. However, it's nice to, like you said, have kind of the social time beforehand.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So 6.
plus people can eat.
So 6. Start with 6 and start with 11. Great. Thank you very much for those on the computer. Thank you for sitting with us. We're going to end the meeting and go see the gym. Thank you.
Ah, okay. No. Will. I realized that.
The speech I wanted to get. Rich.
Gracias por preguntar.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, me too. I think
We don't know a lot of
Follow up any way I can.
That's awesome.
So, let's reach out. I'll see you again.
Yes.
I know.
Now remind me your name. It's Stan, right? Oh, you're going to see the gym. Maybe he's going to see Jim. Hey, your daughter's here.
Hi.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, bye.